All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Monty and Murdy College Football Show. Thank y'all for tuning in with us. We're excited. It's playoff week. Monty, what's up, man? How we doing, buddy?
What's going on? Doing well. Ready to get back into it. Talk about these first round matchups. Got a couple good ones. Couple that might not be what I think the committee had in mind for this year. But
this is
excited
the
to talk about
playoff
it.
bracket. Yeah, this is the playoff bracket. Not a lot of people had in mind whenever they were kind of dreaming or scheming this thing up. You know, when they're writing the things, it's like, hey, it's going to be the top 5 conference champs, and then everybody in the room winked at each other, and they're like, you know, we know what we mean. And then no, it just ends up being they didn't mean for it to be the American and the Sun Belt champ getting in,
Right.
but here
Yeah.
we are.
Hey, for the G5 fans, I'm excited for you. For all the other people out there, yeah, it's like, well, we know where we went wrong per se. But anyways, yeah, I'm excited to talk about these matchups. So overall,
Yeah, a couple good ones. Let's kick it off, man. We got to kick it off with the Friday night game. 8 seed versus the 9 seed. Alabama's traveling to Norman, take on OU. I'll be there. I'm going to be there in person at this game.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, going to attend this one.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of have to.
Yeah, kind of have to. You don't know how many times your team's going to get like a home playoff game because it's
right.
with the way the bracketing does, it's they could be a 10 seed or 11 seed, whatever. It's like just because they made the playoff doesn't mean you're getting a home playoff game. So definitely want to be there in Norman, check this one out. I guess we'll dive in. So these teams have already played, right? This is a rematch. OU obviously won the previous game in Tuscaloosa and was a really close game. OU's defense was able to force Ty Simpson into a couple of key turnovers, really limit Alabama's success running the football. And those key turnovers ended up being all OU needed to propel them to a win. For this one, man, it's kind of more of the same, right? If you're Brent Venables and your OU's defense, you've had now 3 weeks to prepare for this team. Obviously, you had the 1 week bye week. You didn't play in a conference championship game. Got to rest up your team a little bit. I will tell you, just looking at the injury report that came out Wednesday, they probably dropped another one here about an hour ago. I haven't checked it out yet. But this is the healthiest OU has been this season. Even if you go all the way back to week 1, they were missing some key playmakers on the offensive side of the ball, some receivers and stuff. So this is the healthiest they've been to this point in the season. John Mateer, he's further removed from that hand injury or the thumb surgery. Brent Venables kind of touched on it a little bit in a press conference this week. He had mentioned, he's like, hey, John's better. It's not 100%. It's going to be something he had mentioned, it's probably going to be something that has to wait for the offseason to get 100%, but it is something he's still working through. It's rumored he's not playing with the brace on his hand. So we'll see what John Mateer looks like after, getting kind of 3 weeks off from back-to-back of what we all know OU's grueling schedule was there at the end of the season. Bama, they're coming in a little more injured than they were in their previous matchup against OU. Going to be missing some key spots on the defensive line and the defensive backfield. They're hoping Jam Miller, they're going to see what he looks like. He wasn't listed on the injury report, expecting him to be good to go. But we'll see kind of what good to go, actually means as far as the Bama's rushing attack that's struggled all season, right? It's kind of been, everybody knows it. Like, hey, Bama has trouble running the football. They're probably going to dive into some gadget plays, something to try to open that up. Let's hear what you got to say on this one. That's just kind of a quick update. Like, hey, this is where these teams are at. This is kind of, a little bit of updated injury report. Where's everybody looking? And then we'll dive into kind of how we like the matchups. So let's start with you, Monty.
Yeah, no, I mean, you hit it on the head pretty much exactly what I was going to say. Obviously, a rematch from the Week 10 matchup. OU won, like you said, 23-21, so it was a close one. That was in Tuscaloosa. Sorry, I think I had a typo there. I was reading my notes. Okay, yeah. No, what so one of my questions about the matchup, one of my first questions was the rest between OU's last matchup enough to get John Mateer's hand, a little bit more healthy than what it is, which you said, based on what Coach Venables said that it is getting more healthy, and that's I think that's a key to the offense's success in this game in particular. Um, if he can have the success throwing the ball, it'll help open up that run game, which, he's going to be a part of, and then maybe, can get some of those running backs involved more. It'll open it up at least. And then you leave it to the defense to do the rest, right? I mean, they've shown time and time again that's how you win games this year for OU. So you just let them do the rest. You keep their offense off the field, and hopefully you can do that through the air as well as the ground. It sounds like a simple, easier said than done, but with Mateer's hand getting better, it seems like they can get back to maybe how they looked in those first couple weeks of the season. So you let the defense do what they do, keep them under 20 points potentially, and you go score 30. On the Bama side, because we were talking about OU a lot there, but on the Bama side, it comes down to minimizing the turnovers and winning the turnover battle. Overall, obviously that was the issue last time. OU's defense was able to create those turnovers that were not, they weren't like Bama up until that point, right? Ty Simpson had only thrown like a pair of interceptions at that
I
point,
think
or maybe
he had one or two at that point.
he had like one or two, and they were able to, get him to turn the ball over, right? So can they minimize those in this game? I mean, I feel like that's very important in every game, but especially against this OU defense who will capitalize on mistakes. With that being said, Ty Simpson, can he play mistake free? If he does, it'll be a lot harder for OU's defense to take, advantage of basically stopping the pass game, and then Bama having to rely on, a run game, which that it won't work.
No, it just doesn't work for him this year.
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? So they need to not have any mistakes through the air. And then another question I had, which I'm kind of already know the answer to, but it's like, can the Bama run game be more than non-existent? Not, really good, just more than non-existent. We saw the SEC championship where they had -3 rushing yards the whole game, and then you're turning around and you're playing. Yes, you had a couple weeks to prepare, but you turn around and playing an even better OU defense, especially in the run game. So Bama can do at least something there. They might have a shot. With that weakness against Georgia and then having to go play OU, I just, them relying solely on the pass game, it could happen, but I just think that now with this game being in Norman, it's a playoff game. We've seen them play each other. My gut goes with Oklahoma in this one.
Yeah, no shocker, right? I'm going to join you in that pick. We're going with the boys in Norman.
They always say it's hard to beat the same team twice in a season, but I don't know. It's just something about this one. It's like OU's defense and how Bama's offense is kind of slow. It's kind of, I don't want to say decreased in production, but kind of plateaued going into this, and then OU's defense is kind of peaking. So
yeah, I think Alabama started the year off really good. They were able to do a lot,
with an exception to that Florida State game, but
we're saying that one didn't count, right? We're going to go ahead. We're pulling a college football playoff committee. That one doesn't count. We're not looking at it. Either way, we're going to, from Alabama, they started, and then they didn't really stumble too bad until they got to OU. Ty Simpson was able to carry them through games, and then that's where you really start to see the kind of cracks in the armor, right? They kind of showed you like, hey, if you can limit their run game, Ty Simpson could give you a couple if you're able to scheme some stuff up and be able to force some turnovers, force him into some errant throws, force him into some problem areas, right? And I think if there's almost one coach that I don't want to have 2 weeks to prepare for me, it's Brent Venables. Especially if he's already had 2 weeks before. So Brent Venables watched more Alabama than he has watched anybody this season, right? He had 2 weeks. He had a bye week before, watched him for 2 weeks, scouted him, planned for him. Now he's doing it again. And willing to bet it's actually probably more like 3. You're looking at OU, you're like, hey, we're either going to match up with either probably one of 3 teams. It's either going to be Alabama, Notre Dame, or Miami. So he might have done a little bit of looking there, but probably considerably did some really deep scouting on Alabama again. So really 3 weeks to prepare. OU is at the healthiest point, and OU is also adding their best defensive player back to the defensive side of the ball. R. Mason Thomas, who did not play in the last time these two teams faced each other, where OU was able to get heavy pressure on Ty Simpson. So I look at R. Mason Thomas as, hey man, you're adding one of the top defensive edges in the SEC and probably in the country. Back to a defense that already performed at a really high clip. And then you're going to go and you're going to play this defense with a home crowd behind them. So make your run adjustments that much harder, make your communication that much harder. I just don't like the matchup for Alabama in regards to, I just think the tape's kind of out on him. It's like if Ty Simpson's going to have a huge game, that's Alabama's path. He needs to have a huge game, and they're really going to need some mistakes from John Mateer. And I'm relying for OU's offensive side of the ball. I think Alabama's defense is probably one of the most underrated part of their teams. It kind of doesn't really get talked about the most.
Yeah, they actually have a very good defense.
Yeah, it's very solid defense. So I think OU's going to have difficulty running the football just like they did the last time they played against them. OU has some health issues possibly on the offensive line. So we'll see what they were able to work out there. And they're really going to need John Mateer to step up, make throws. Like I said, it's reported that he is the most healthy he has been since early on in the season. When we saw John Mateer ripping off constant 300-yard games, 250-plus games. And he's throwing without the brace. So I'm just relying on that kind of on this pick. I'm like, hey, I think we're going to get the best version of John Mateer that we have seen. And even the version that he has still stepped up late in games, be able to make key clutch plays, late in the fourth quarter to be able to win OU these games. And I would look for him to do more of that this week. So yeah, that's kind of how I see the matchup. And yeah, I think John Mateer is going to make enough plays for the OU offense, and I think that OU defense is going to really put a statement here on their first playoff under Brent Middles, their first playoff game.
Yep. And I believe it was every single home playoff team last year won. Pretty sure every team that had a home game, yeah. So take that information how you will. But on to Saturday, 11 a.m. kick. Miami is
What are we doing? What are we doing?
College Station. What?
11 a.m. That's what I'm saying. 11 a.m. for this game.
Oh, I know. 11 a.m. kickoff. Miami's going to College Station, take on A&M. Yeah, no, I know. This game, I mean, obviously as an A&M fan, you're going to want this one at night for sure. But that's not what they have.
I think just as a football fan, you want it at night. Even if you're a Miami fan, you probably want it at night.
Well, maybe Miami fans are probably like, oh, thank God. Because, Kyle
Field at night, I get that part.
And that's one of the things I was going to say was, playoff game at Kyle Field, man. It's still going to be a major factor in this game, I think. It's just, night game, I wouldn't give Miami much of a shot, to be honest. So, but it is 11 a.m. kickoff. So early kick, still sold out. Still think it's going to be a factor in this game. Yeah, I mean, and then obviously A&M's defense needs to play fast and get to Carson Beck early.
Rattling.
Yeah. And, you want to make him make a mistake, right? Because once he starts making the mistakes, he starts forcing throws more, which is weird, Normally you see people go the other way where they start doubting themselves and they, cause sacks, but he starts forcing the ball more and then he starts making more mistakes and the mistakes start climbing. That's what we saw against Louisville this year. But on the flip side, it's funny because the keys to the game for both offenses and defenses really, they're mirrored. So A&M defensively needs to get to Carson Beck early enough to get him uncomfortable. Miami's D-line, and both teams are capable of this. Miami's D-line needs to get to Marcel Reed, make him uncomfortable, make him make those throws off balance, and don't give him the time to be in the pocket and don't give him the time to, extend plays with his feet. because he showed that he makes his mistakes and he's less accurate when he's off balance. So it's basically the same for both defenses. And then on the flip side, right, for the offenses, you need Marcel Reed to take over this game with his feet, with his arm, open up the run game. Well, if they do that, when he starts getting his rhythm, you see how good he is. He almost went to New York, right? So Miami, same thing. If you let Carson Beck have time and throw the ball, you see that he can carve you up. He did it against Notre Dame earlier on in the season. So it's funny because you have this game where these two teams, it's a perfect matchup in my eyes. I mean, you got the way that their seasons have ended with how their teams play and what they need to do in this game. In my eyes, yeah. So those are the keys really that I have for both teams. I guess I'll make my pick. I think this was a tough one. This is one of the ones that was actually pretty tough for me to pick, but I am going with A&M still. I think Kyle Fields still will be too much. I think that I would trust A&M's defense to rattle Carson Beck before I trust Miami's to rattle Marcel Reed's first. So,
Yeah. So for me on this one, you kind of already mentioned it. It really comes down to one factor for me, and this is Miami's defensive line play versus A&M's O-line. Right there's the matchup.
Yep.
Because I think if you can limit A&M's rushing attack, and you make Marcel Reed have to go through multiple reads, I think that is a good situation for Miami. And if you're A&M on the other side of it, it's like, hey, we may have to run Marcel Reed in this one, 15, 16, 20 times, whatever we got to do, to effectively be able to rush the ball against this Miami defense, right? Because that's when A&M's at their best, right? We've seen them whenever they're playing at their peak. It's whenever they're balanced. The offense is running the ball. The offense is throwing the ball.
Exactly.
They're playing the very good complementary football team. That's whenever A&M is at their peak. And if Miami's D-line is not able to limit the A&M rushing attack and make Marcel Reed have to go through reads, have to pick them apart, I think this game is very easily sets up for A&M pretty well, especially with the home field, as opposed to on the Carson Beck Miami side. They've played really good, and then they've really let themselves down against kind of more inferior opponents. I don't know how much neither one of these teams is, I would say, at least ultimately tested. Neither one had too difficult of a schedule to get to the point that they're at. But you have a common opponent right between them. That was way early in the year, Notre Dame, that a lot of people would argue about, like, hey, Notre Dame's probably better than both these teams.
Well, based on
what happened on the field, both these teams beat Notre Dame, right? But I think Miami beat them by, I'm going off the top of my head here, I think it was 27-24.
Yes, it was.
And then A&M beat them 41-40. I have no notes on that. That's just top of my head pulling.
There you go. Ball knower.
Yeah, ball knower. So, yeah, with Marcel Reed, I mean, I think it's Malachi Tony, Miami's wide receiver, very explosive. However, I think A&M has two of them with Casey Conception, Mario Craver, and the way if A&M is going to be able to make a multitude of attacks, right? They can run Marcel Reed. We're not saving him for anything, right? You lose this one, you're out. So it's, hey, everything's to the wall. This is our season right here on the line. I know A&M, they feel like they had a chance to win that Texas game, and preserve their top 4 seed. Well, this is your bounce back game, and I look for A&M to get it done. I think what they're going to be able to do as far as Marcel Reed running the football, I know it's not been the biggest part of their game. I think he has 480 yards. I mean, which isn't terrible. I mean, if you're Alabama or Oklahoma, that's probably your leading rusher.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? So I think that's something they can rely on to open up that running game, keep them balanced on the offensive side of the ball. And I don't know if Miami's good enough on the defensive line to be able to slow that down to where they don't have to bring a bunch of people into the box to open up one-on-one opportunities for Casey Conception and Mario Craver, because I think that's the kind of game A&M wants to play with you, is they want to play +1 quarterback run game, and then you're playing one-on-one coverage on the outside, and then Casey Concepcion, Mario Craver just freaking turned your lights out. So for this one, I like A&M.
Yeah, so we're both
I
going
didn't
with
even mention
A&M.
the home field there, but that's also a huge advantage for A&M as well.
Yeah, I still think it'll be a factor when it comes, even though it's at 11 a.m. But I want it to be on the record that for all my big fellas out there, you did say that the key to the game was the trenches. So
For all the big fellas, it is on,
fired up.
more specifically, not even the A&M O-line. It is on the Miami D-line. That is my key to the
I'm
game.
saying it's on the trenches right there, baby.
It's on the trenches, dude.
There you go. For all the big fellas out there that might be listening, the trenches are the key to the Miami A&M game.
That's the one key I got. Miami's D-line, they play great, limit them. Hey, got it. But so I guess is that all you got on the A&M Miami game?
No,
both going OU, both going to A&M.
Yep, both going with A&M.
All right, then we got another rematch to talk about. And we got a college football playoff game where one team is a 17.5-point favorite. We got Tulane going to Oxford to take on Ole Miss without Lane Kiffin.
The Kiffinless Ole Miss team.
What are we going to call this one? We got the Fighting Jeff Levies in Mississippi State. So what are we going with here? These the Raging Pete Goldings or the
or the Rambling Pete Goldings or
the Rambling Pete Goldings, something along those lines. I kind of like that.
The Towering Pete Goldings.
Yeah, something like that. We got Ole Miss, Tulane.
Got the Rebels.
We got the Rebels. We got John Summerall wearing his 50-50 hat. 50% of it he's focused on Florida, 50% he's still at A&M. Both these teams already played this season.
Tulane.
Oh, yeah, Tulane, sorry.
Florida,
Tulane. I didn't mean to misspeak there.
You said A&M.
Yeah. That's not where John Summerall's other hat is. So, yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
Florida and Tulane. And Ole Miss won this game 45-10 the last time these two teams played in Oxford.
I believe I don't want to correct myself. I believe the last episode I didn't have it pulled up. I think I said it was like 45-7, but yeah, 45-10.
Yeah, 45-10 was the final score last time these two teams matched up. And whenever I went back watch the tape a little bit on that game, Ole Miss has just got too many players for Tulane to be able to compete. Jake Retzloff, he's Tulane's offense pretty much.
Leading rusher and obviously leading passer.
Yeah, leading rusher and leading passer. I think Ole Miss with there I go again. Ole Miss with Kewan Lacey, Trinidad Chambliss. What they're able to do as far as weapons on the offensive side of the ball, I think they're just going to score too many points. And their defense, while it might not be the premier defense in the SEC, it's not. And we'll see how focused Pete Golding is to be able to focus in on the defense as he assumes new head coaching responsibilities with Lane Kiffin missing. I just don't see Lane Kiffin missing from this game, making up 35 points for Tulane here.
Right.
So that's why it's kind of what it's a really simple pick. It's not a hot take. I think Ole Miss is going to win this one.
Yeah.
And go ahead and take the dub. What about you, man?
Yeah, no, I'm on the same boat as you. Ole Miss, I think, is going to win this game pretty handily. But my reason mainly was, so it's the number 3 pass offense taking on the number 122nd pass defense. So, and yes, they don't have their play caller, right, Lane Kiffin, but their offensive coordinator Charlie Weiss, he's still coaching for the playoffs. He is the OC at LSU starting next year, but he is coaching the playoffs for Ole Miss. Wants to finish out the season with those guys. So yeah, the play calls might look a little different, but it's still the offensive coordinator's offense, right? So I don't think they really miss Lane Kiffin completely. I think the only time you'll see that is probably in like a next week matchup when they're playing a team that's a little bit more talented than Tulane. But yeah, for this one, it's the stats don't lie, right? And I just go back to that number 3 pass offense. That's a top 3 pass offense in the country, and I think they're a top 10 offense overall. And then the 122nd pass defense.
It says they're third overall, at least in yards per game. Ole Miss putting up 498.1 yards per game on offense.
Yeah, so I mean, proof's in the pudding. I'm taking Ole Miss. I don't think that's very. It's not a hot take, but. going with Ole Miss.
Yeah, not a hot take there. Not a lot in this one. I think we learned a little bit from last year, right? After we went and, um, I think I kind of like some of the matchups a little better last year. You had a little bit dicier ones, but yeah, Ole Miss 17.5 point favorite. Both going with Ole Miss there. Not too much to say on that one. And let's get to another thriller, man. I mean, we're just stacked up in here.
Yeah.
We got the James Madison Dukes. This one's going to screw me up. Taking on the Oregon Ducks.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I knew that. I saw that one in my notes. I was like, oh, that's going to be
Dukes
tough for me.
and the
The
Ducks.
Dukes versus the Ducks.
I will say, no matter who wins the football matchup in this game, JMU won the Twitter fingers of the year. I don't know. Have you seen any of that stuff? Those JMU accounts?
I hadn't seen too much of it.
Yeah. So there's just a couple JMU accounts that have just been like very facetiously, joking, going after Oregon, like saying how, I'm trying to think of a good example of one that I saw. Oh, they found Dan Lanning's record versus purple and gold teams, and it was like he was like, I don't remember what it was. He was like 4-4 or something like that, or it was something like that. And then against every other team, he was like,
way above. Yeah,
he was like 70-8, and and the guy and the account was like, JMU's purple and gold. So, but yeah, so stuff like that. It was funny. So I think James Madison for sure wins the Twitter fingers of the year for this matchup, despite whatever the outcome might be.
Yeah. Oregon's a 21.5 point favorite here. The only note I got is on this one is, hey, is this a game we're turning off in the second half, or you think JMU is going to be able to at least keep it within a 2-possession game, something along those lines, to where you at least get a little intrigue into it. I don't want to take anything away from JMU. I think they've obviously had a very successful season. They got their head coach. They did so well, their head coach got hired somewhere else. It's usually kind of how it goes whenever – that's how you know you're having a good year in the G5 is when your head coach gets hired somewhere else.
They got Sunbelt Billy back, though, so.
Yeah, they did get Sunbelt Billy back, so maybe looking for a little redemption run there. But yeah, I think JMU's only played one Power 4 team this year. They lost to Louisville. I don't think Louisville's nearly as good as what Dan Lanning and the Ducks are. But hey, JMU's been explosive on the offensive side of the ball. Wayne Knight, I think he's got like 1,200 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns. That's rushing. Sorry. Yeah, he's got 1,200 yards rushing, 9 touchdowns on 190 carries. So he's playing pretty good ball. Quarterback's not turning the ball over in an excessive clip, only 8 turnovers from Barnett. However, yeah, I got to go with the Oregon Ducks, and I may be looking for something to watch in the second half.
I was gonna say, yeah, this matchup. Sorry, I was looking now because I found the account. I'm just looking.
Found it?
I found the account. I'm just looking for the tweets. But anyways, no, yeah, I mean, that's the problem with, like, I love that JMU's in the playoff. It's if a G5 team, like, for example, Boise State last year, they were the G5. They deserved to be there, though. Like, they were actually good enough to potentially beat one of those teams. They obviously didn't, right? They played a really tough Penn State team who made it to the semifinals. But people can disagree with me, but I felt like Boise State belonged there. Tulane and JMU, I'm not saying they don't belong because of the way that the bracket's designed, but it's just like, why are we having playoff games where Tulane's or Ole Miss is favored over Tulane by 17.5, and Oregon's favored over JMU by like 20.5. So yeah.
I think
I like their coach.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I was like, I think the point you're kind of making is like, hey, if all of us outside, right, we're not a fan of either of these schools, what game would we rather see? JMU traveling to Eugene, take on Oregon, or Notre Dame making the trip out to Eugene to take on Oregon?
Is that a question? I thought that was
I mean,
rhetorical. Sorry.
it's kind of rhetorical, right? Like we all obviously would want to watch the Notre Dame versus Oregon game, um, as opposed to JMU taking them on. But that's just the way it works. Is hey, you write the rules before the season, and then whatever plays out is kind of what ends up happening there. So, yeah, I don't. To be fair, I wouldn't feel much different about this game if it was the Blue Devils, the Duke Blue Devils, traveling to Oregon to go
Yeah, I
take
mean,
on the Ducks.
I think Duke would probably still be underdog by 2 touchdowns, but
Uh,
no, but for the matchup itself, so I'm picking Oregon too. But for the matchup itself, I wouldn't want to be an away team. I guess this is kind of to your point right there. I wouldn't want to be an away team whether I was JMU or Duke. Going to a playoff game in Eugene, right? Like that's not a place I'd want to play. If I was an away team, that's a hard place to play in general. And now you got a playoff game. Yeah, so that's the kind of the main. And like I said it a couple weeks ago. Stand by it. Everyone kind of knows now. I'm a big home field advantage. Kind of leans me a certain way every time, but yeah, JMU being 12-1, and they've dominated for the most part their path to the playoff, other than their one loss, which is their one P5 team that they played. And Oregon is also one of the hottest teams right now, and probably one of the most balanced teams right now. So it's unfortunate they got Oregon as their draw, or vice versa. It's unfortunate fortunate, I guess, for Oregon playing a team like that. But yeah, I think I think Oregon may cover. There is a world where JMU does keep it close if they can cause some mistakes on the Oregon offense, and like if it's like I could see it if you're going into the second half and it's like it's 14-10 or 14-3 or 21-10, something like that, where they can keep it close, then it's like, oh, we might actually have a shot. And then the what if starts to build up in Oregon's mind, then maybe, but I just don't see that happening. So I'm taking all the favorites. I'm taking all the home teams. I would have been right, I guess, last year had I done that. So
yeah, rolling with last year's method. Would it change anything for you if this game was in Harrisonburg, Virginia?
No. I mean,
No.
not the out, not the outcome, right? Maybe the score, but not the outcome.
Yeah.
It's just Oregon's one. Like I said, Oregon's one of the hottest teams right now. I said it last show. Oregon, Georgia, those teams right now. It's like Oregon's balance. So
yeah, and I think part of this is I know a lot of people are going to get mad. They're going to be like, "Hey, why are we having blowout games in the playoff?" I think next week, at least as far as like how the field's set up, I think the second round of playoff games, I think there's a lot of intriguing matchups. Possibly, if assuming all the home teams and favorites win, it's like you're looking at a Texas Tech versus Oregon. You're looking at Indiana versus Oklahoma. You're looking at Ole Miss versus Georgia, and Texas A&M versus Ohio State. You got a lot of good games in that kind of second round. I think there is probably some stuff that we're still working through for the overall playoff picture, but yeah, it's just kind of one of those things we're working, and we're at least they're trying out a couple things. It seems to be evolving every year. There's going to be stuff coming out of this year that they don't like, so it's going to change in the off season. And the number one place to get that information and get it updated and get it explained is going to be right here on the Monty and Murdy College Football Show. We'll be sure to keep y'all in the loop, let y'all know what's going on as far as off season talk. Monty's already been texting in our freaking group chat as as a lot of teams do if they're not in the playoff. Once the season's over, hey baby, we're focused on the off season, how we can get back for next year. So he's kind of halfway in off season mode, but we appreciate him hanging around and finishing out this year.
Hey, I'm not in off season mode. I'm still a sicko. I love college football. I'm excited. I'm excited for these playoffs. I might be one of the rare ones now. I'm excited for the bowl games and not just Tennessee's bowl game. I'm excited for I still got football to watch in December. So
absolutely. That's what's important. We still got football to watch, and I actually really enjoy the bowl games. I think they're a really good they're at least a kind of a small little window of like what that team could possibly look like next year because you get a lot of young quarterbacks and stuff like that playing in those bowl games. So I'm excited for those. And man, so we'll be back next week. Monty, you got anything else on any of these matchups?
Yeah, I found one tweet that's kind of a good example of what they were
Okay.
doing. It's just they're just kind of like poking fun at Oregon. So it's the at JMU Sports News. That's the X account that's tweeting this out. Times hosting College Game Day in 2025, as reported by JMU Sports News, and it says JMU 1, Oregon 0. And it goes to show how large the Duke's brand is nationally compared to even Big Ten teams like the Ducks. and then there was one other one that I saw here that I thought was pretty funny. Oh yeah, college football national championship since 2000, JMU 2, Oregon 0. So it's just
like it.
stuff like that. It's funny. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so they win the media side of this matchup. But no, that's all I got. I'm like said at the beginning, I'll say it now. I'm excited for these matchups. A couple matchups. Unfortunately, the A&M Miami game, at 11 a.m., but still really excited to see that one. And then obviously on your end, the OU Bama game. Tough to beat a team twice in a season. So
yeah, gonna be a big one. All the boys in Norman, I'll be there with you. Go ahead, start drinking the freaking honey and whiskey. Get the voice ready because it's gonna be cold and it's gonna be loud. So we're gonna do it. All right then. Well, for next week, y'all, we're gonna be doing it. We'll hit y'all with a college football recap, and then we will do kind of like a bowl game preview. Me and Monty will go through, select some of the best bowl games, for that next week, and preview the ones that we want to talk about and some of the stuff we're looking forward to those. So that's what we got on the schedule for next week. Until then, we'll catch y'all. Peace.